And as a person, to attain those goals personally and having this road championship, is that a feather on your cap in your career?
When I started wrestling, I'm very realistic. I know I talk like big and like of going for your dreams and everything like that, but I also know that there's a realistic way of looking at things. And in life, I feel that, you always set small goals. You have your ultimate goal, but you can't just go from, New York to LA and not have a plan or anything like that. It's what are you going to do? First step, sign up. Second step, do what they tell you to do. Listen. Next step, get on the show. Next step, win a match. Next step, whatever it is, what's going to get you to that ultimate goal? And I do have the idea that I want to progress even further. So I'm going to continue doing what I've done and just continue to put in the work.
It's been 6 months in the making since we had this conversation before. We're finally here. And we have Gaspar Hernandez here today for the Project Get to Know podcast. He is currently working at Reality of Wrestling. He is the road champion, but we'll talk about that way later into the episode. But your journey didn't start in wrestling, and music has been your calling before jumping in the ring. What were some of those bands that you grew up listening to that made you appreciate music as an art form?
Well, definitely coming from punk rock band, so starting there. Number one, I would say Green Day. First experiencing Green Day by watching MTV and watching the music video Walking Contradiction. I heard it and I was like, I never heard anything like this before. I knew about the metal and the grunge, but Green Day was like a breath of fresh air. Even I was like, this is something completely different. So that kind of just led me down the rabbit hole. Eventually, Blink-182 came into the picture, and it just kind of expanded from there. I was like, I found out what punk rock is. I figured out what the music and the art form is. And it just went from Blink to Rancid, Social Distortion, The Clash, The Ramones, and then after that, like all the little subgenres of punk rock, ska, oi, hardcore, psychobilly. I mean, any kind of like that rebel music, and I just love the energy of that.
What are some common threads that each band that you listened to growing up?
What were some common threads in the
similar themes, lyrics, songwriting, music? Because music, as it is, it's usually an inspiration of someone. With the bands that you're listening to, what are some of those commonalities and differences as you started to really get to know hard rock, punk, ska, and all of these other subgenres within the main rock genre in music?
It's definitely an outsider music. It's like I said, it's a rebel music, and being that kid in high school who didn't fit in, it called to me. It understands like I'm different, and it's okay to be different, but there's people out there who feel the same way, and the anger that comes with it, growing up, teenage angst, it calls to you this angry sound. But it's definitely, like I said, it's just an outsider music, which is what I always felt like.
What is the quintessential album that you listen to a lot that you will never skip, that you will play it from front to back?
Life Won't Wait by Rancid. It is.
Ooh, okay.
Are you familiar with it?
That was it's a long time ago since I heard that. I'm gonna have to re-listen to it. When you heard, I was like, I'm like, okay, good. That perked me up a little bit. But what makes that such a quintessential album for you?
It's an artistic album. It's an album that has so many different sounds. It's everything that I just mentioned in it. There's punk rock, there's ska, there's dub, there's rockabilly. I mean, it is blues in it. It has everything, and like everything that I love in this music, like they captured it. And I think it's a perfect album. I mean, so perfect that like, I don't know, I don't think you can see it, but Life Won't Wait. It's a great ethos.
Oh.
It's, for me, as I took it, I really just, the idea of Life Won't Wait is like, go out and get it. There's only one life and it ain't going to wait around for you. You know, going out and touring as an independent artist. I was like, get out there on the road. So then once the music kind of subsided and my band fizzled, I was like, I found wrestling. And I was like, you know, I'm not the youngest person around, but I'm going for it. There's only one life to live, and I'm going to grab what I can out of it and everything that I want.
What was so going into being a musician from that listener to now playing and crafting your art as that musician? What was it like being on the stage versus someone who's probably seen live shows as an audience member?
Well, let me take that first part. What's it like being on stage? By nature, I'm very introverted. I'm also very quiet.
Okay.
I'm not I don't light up a room. But once I'm on stage, and I've been told this before, that's where your real personality comes out. That is where I'm able to sort of really cut loose, because that's where I feel most comfortable, is being on that stage. It's every hang up I have, it's gone. Because now the focus is on me and I'm going to take it. And that's the point. Now, as far as what was the second part of your question, as far as like, what's it like from an audience member?
Yeah. What was the difference as an audience member to now playing your own music with the band?
Punk rock has always been an idea that anybody can do it. And as long as you have the passion for it, like you can do it. Being an audience member is like, now I'm the one that everything that I saw and going to see bands like 30 Foot Fall, the Swinging Utters, Black Star Brigade, some of these very early Houston punk rock bands. I was like, now I can be that too. And it's, I think that's all I can say, really. It's just like, I can be that. And now I'm part of that.
Do you remember your first gig? When the
my first
venue
gig,
was like, hey, yes. What was that
my
like?
first real gig was with my high school band. I think we were like 16 or 17. We were basically nothing more than like a really bad cover band, but we had so much fun. It was like parties.
We all start somewhere.
Yeah. Imagine just trying to make your way through Time Bomb as a terrible bass player. Yeah, we played Cardi's 2000, if you remember that venue. If anybody from Houston remembers that venue, it was, I think it's currently right now like a strip club, and it had the strip club feel back then. It was very much like a metal, like almost like a 1980s Sunset Strip kind of feel to it. It had go-go cages on the side of the stage, and it had this massive stage with like this sound guy who hated anything that wasn't metal. Oh man. But you know, they booked us, and you know, we filled that place up with a couple of high school students.
But as you started learning, like, who were your go-to bass players when you started to learn? Because I started off as bass, but my bass players has always been like the prog rock, so like the Geddy Lees. I went to Mike Dirnt. It's funny you mentioned Green Day. I went with Mike Dirnt as my first bassist, and I went super advanced with Geddy Lee, and I kind of put away the bass for a bit. But for you, like, what were some of those bass players that you wanted to really hone your tone as a bass player?
Definitely. I wouldn't say necessarily hone my tone, because really it was like eventually I got with some good musicians who helped me hone my tone.
Okay, that's good.
But as far as like definitely just like I wanted to be Dee Dee Ramone, so I put my strap all the way down past my belt.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and eventually you're like, once you kind of want to get a little bit more intricate, it's like, okay, this may not be. Let me raise it up until like just right below the belt buckle. And then started going into like Matt Freeman, which was a huge challenge, Mike Dirnt, Paul Simonon from the Flash, and eventually like going into like Lemmy from Motorhead. And I think if you've seen my other looks before, you can pretty much gather that.
What was as you started to go out on the road, and being with your band, like how much has that brotherhood really shaped you as a band? Because oftentimes, like with bands, everything starts off rocky, but when you're starting to book more music gigs, the more fans that are adoring, that are getting to know your band that way, how has that brotherhood with a band changed? Not only you as a musician, but as a person. Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're asking some really heavy questions. I'm like, hey man, those are like touring.
throwing bombs today.
I know you get like into my psyche or something, or it's like psychological test. I'll answer it the best way I can. Going out there touring, going out there and touring, it's just like when you got some good music going and you got a little bit of steam. We were going out during the time of, this is going to age me a bit, but hey, I mean, look at me.
Punk rock, baby.
Yeah. This, you're really, as an independent label and as an independent artist, basically no backing whatsoever, and DIY being so close to, punk rock type, we did everything on our own. We had zero backing. It was strictly flying from the seat of our pants. We used MySpace to book our tour.
Wow, we are both aging at this point.
Yeah, MySpace. Going on MySpace, searching, okay, let's get a map. All right, we're starting in Houston. All right, let's go out to the West Coast. All right, we'll go down this way, Arizona. All right, New Mexico, reverse, whatever. Los Angeles, Vegas, back down through, I think we went back to Arizona, El Paso on our way back. All right, let's search all those cities and find out who's the punk rock band in there and who has the most friends. And let's message them and see if they're willing to put us up for a night. All right. And that's how we did it. Luckily, my father let me borrow. He's a contractor, so he got a couple of extra vans. He was like, hey, can I borrow this van? And he was kind enough and never really supported it. He's like, hope the kid get this out of his system already and he can hurry up and go to work. He's got a career. But he was kind enough to let us borrow a van. We got in there, no trailer. We packed everything like in like these, what my father built out for his tools is like, we had cases like halfway up from the van, and then we slept on top of it. And so we just went there in like an econo line and traveled and just hope for the best.
Because you sense the freedom.
And there were times that we just came back, just all we ate was like cigarettes and water.
You kind of sense the freedom of being on the road, because how has going to new places how has going to a new place and going somewhere that's different, it must have been daunting, but it must have been fun at the same time because you're trying something that's out of your comfort zone.
You're in your early 20s. There's no such thing as comfort zone. You're living life. And I've told this to some of the younger cats is like, who sometimes worry about this. It's like, dude, you're 21. You have a good 7 years of messing up your life before you can, it's all goes to shambles. Let it go to shambles. Reach for your dreams. And if you're lucky, you're gonna make it. And if you're not, hey, you have the stories, from, I don't know, like, almost getting in some fights with some divers out in Florida because they somehow feel challenged because you're getting a lot of attention from the cocktail maid or the cocktail waitress or something like that. Spending the night at some kid's house who's like, hey, I got a punk rock house. You get flop here for a couple of days. The kindness of just kids in the scene, there's no comfort zone. You're going out there and you're living life. You got it by the balls, man. Grab it and go.
Wow, that's honestly like a refreshing. That's why I'm like smiling. I'm like I've never heard someone from that in a long time. So it's nice
I'm losing you.
seeing how
You froze
carefree
up on me now.
at that time when you're being
Man.
in a band. And shifting gears for a bit, when wrestling
Hey.
kind of came into mind, and when you your phone is rotated. Hold on.
Yeah, I lost you for like a long time there. Let me get you back.
There we go.
All right, you said that, you said you were smiling and refreshing.
Yeah, it's been a while because it's been a while hearing something like that too. As I was like, wow, that's a perspective I haven't heard in such a long time. So it's like, oh, I was like kind of smiling because like that was me too. That was honestly me. Like I moved here basically in my 30s. It's a different scenario to jump into a different city altogether coming from the East Coast. So it's like, wow, at least someone gets it finally, you know?
Where from the East Coast?
New Jersey.
Jersey. Okay. What? Near the boardwalk, or was it the?
I'm in Jersey City, so I'm right by New York City. So like that city, it might as well be a borough to New York City because it's just a short train ride away to get to New York, whether it's in Lower Manhattan or in Midtown. But this city's might as well be a 6-borough twice removed just because of being in a different state. So, but also,
no, just saying, like we had so much fun, and we got to play Ashbury Lanes, if you know that venue out there.
Oh my God! So you were in the thick of the music venues, and it's usually around the shore. So like the most obvious one is the Stone Pony in Asbury Park. So
yes,
that's the biggest one that was like the largest, but it's the most well known because Springsteen performed in the Stone Pony weekly before he took off.
I mean,
that has an affinity. Starland Ballroom's another one. That one is big because that's where the emo kids are.
Oh yeah.
So that's where the emo kids are performing a lot. They're Taking Back Sunday has their Christmas show every year for I think like a decade before they shuttered it last year. So you're in like the good spots where people perform, of course, and JPAC in Newark, but that's like the more mainstream venues that are there. So it's like it's kind of nice to hear like, oh, you know Asbury Live. Like I haven't heard that since when I was like in high school. So
Asbury Lanes, like I knew all the guys from the Bouncing Souls. I think they owned that place.
Oh wow!
That's what I was told. I don't know. I mean, I didn't look at any kind of paperwork or anything like that. But I was like, hey,
exactly.
I took it. Hey, we're playing the Bouncing Souls music venue. I'll take it. Telling everybody that
it's well known enough.
Yeah, sure.
So we're gonna switch over to your wrestling career, and I will always ask this in every episode. As a fan, who did you look up to? As a fan of wrestling, who did you look up to?
As a fan of wrestling, first person that really called my interest was Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon was the definition of cool, and from everything from the hair to the style to the attitude, that was my guy. And not only that, and then also the Undertaker, the darkness with it. Love the Undertaker, the large size, the gimmick in general. It's like, man, it was awesome when I first started watching wrestling.
What was the match that impressed you as a fan?
So obviously my early years are definitely like the stuff that really sticks with you. So I remember having like a videotape from like Walmart of like different VHSs. It was like these cheap little compilations of it. Well, I think now they actually do just show them on YouTube now. I remember watching Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels ladder match, the first ever ladder match in WWE that was done for like Wrestling Challenge, or maybe it was just done for the video.
Okay.
For the Intercontinental with Sherry Martel on the side. That was really big. I was like, this is something completely different. Never seen a ladder match, and I love what they did. But if you want like a classic like wrestling match, Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. I had that on some SummerSlam compilation that I watched constantly. It was such a great match.
Because man, I haven't heard that that ladder match was something, man. Because like
I think it was like in Portland, and it's like,
yeah, I think so. Because like that match in particular, because like it was rough. I remember seeing that for a while. I watched it on YouTube like later on, but like that was a rough ladder match. Like it was still kind of like in its infancy, where it still needs to be safe, but like the way that it's presented, it looks like someone's gonna break their neck when that happened.
Yeah, I
If you want
think
to
it
add
was
that.
like first thing I've ever seen in a ladder match. Like, oh man, this what they did with it. I loved it, and like, but definitely for just classic one-on-one in the ring, Mr. Perfect and Bret Hart SummerSlam.
Yeah, because like being the wrestler now, and reality been your training ground all this time, or did you train in other schools before jumping into reality?
This is pretty much all I know.
Okay,
It's right here in my backyard, so yeah.
and you know when you walked up to the wrestling school, and what was your first what was your first like reaction coming into and saying I want to try reality of wrestling, just as a person who's trying to figure out what to do in a wrestling career?
The the I've gone to shows before in reality wrestling. When it was presented to me, it was somebody told me, "Hey, you ever thought about going here?" They saw me at the gym. They're like, "Hey, you're a really big guy. You ever thought about getting wrestling?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of too old for that. I think my time has passed me by." It's like, I don't know, man. Then they need some big guys, some guys like your size. You may want to try it. They may fast track you. I don't know. And I was like, presenting myself, and I was like, okay, just go for it. Another thing for me just to jump into, and I was so nervous. I was like,
Oh, okay.
I was so nervous, but just go out and do it. It's the same thing that I had with music. Is all like you have one life to live, so just go and get it. And when I showed up, it was still very I was still very nervous because again, I didn't tell anyone I was training. The only person that knew was my wife, and
Aw,
I didn't know I was going to be able to stick it out. But
right.
if you put it, if this is something you truly wanted to do, then you will put forth the effort towards it.
Mm.
No one's going to stop you other than you. So go for it. But that's up to anybody to figure that out for themselves.
How much is that confidence built up over time with training, and how much has the coaches with Ryan Davis, whoever the coaches were, and Booker's the main one, of course, but to have the coaches build up confidence, how much did that take to really get to know what it means for the basics in the wrestling ring?
The confidence has to, what I believe is the confidence has to come within. You can have all the coaching in the world, and believe me, we have great coaches. We have amazing coaches. They're going to teach you the right way to go about it. But you have to have confidence in yourself. And that's something, if you go back to my debut match, I'm a walking Frankenstein. But you have to eventually get comfortable with everything that is about wrestling and have the ability to, like, you know what? I understand where I am at, but I'm going to be the best at this. I don't care. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting off in your first roles. You have to have the idea that you're going to be the best. Because if you don't, then why are you doing it?
Because Booker, of course, I always say this to everyone who's in the podcast on every episode. What was the advice that Book gave you as you go on with your training over at reality?
The best advice and he gives everyone this, but I think this is something that does ring 100% true. You have to put in the hard work. You have to, as he always says, you're not going to slip on a banana peel and figure this out. If you're not in there training, if you're not in there watching film, critiquing yourself and being honest with yourself about like I said, have confidence, but also be able to know where your limitations are and try and progress past those limitations. No one's going to just fall out of the sky and be Kurt Angle, be Bret Hart. You have to put in the work.
Because leading up to your debut, and I'm going to ask this too, because I've had someone before that was in a band before he started training in wrestling. Performing in a ring and performing on stage, is there similarities and differences, even though it's performing in both avenues? What are some of those similarities and differences?
Similarities is being confident. Understand that when you're on stage or in the ring, it's your time. So take it and figure out, but work together. I'm not going to be up there playing a bass solo for 45 minutes. I'm going to do what I got to do to make it work and work together. But when it's time for you to shine and you get that solo, rip it.
Okay. And with your debut and going into the progress leading up to you having the road championship, what were some of those lessons that you've learned leading up to getting that road championship in your waist?
It goes always back to the basics. And what I feel is what's going to make you succeed in anything is having confidence, having the ability to also critique yourself, accept criticism, constructive criticism from those who've been down the roads that you want to go through, and understanding that like it's not going to be an overnight thing. You're going to stumble, but continue going. You're going to fall on your face probably, but hey, continue and get up, because if you wallow in it, you're going down. And that's what always was my approach, is taking every critique and saying, yeah, that clothesline you're giving looks like crud. Okay. Thank you. And then look at the film. It's like, yeah, that's pretty cruddy. Now I'm going to really hit him. I'm going to nail him with that clothesline when I see him next, on that, whoever I see next in the ring. It's being able to say, hey, like, I know I can get better, and there's always room for improvement.
Cool. And we'll talk with the Road Championship. One thing that kind of came to mind with what you're doing is recently you were in a tag match with Joe Henry and and working with Moose and with Edgestone. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. Seeing Henry and Moose, who's at that level in their professional careers, what was it like looking at both these men, and how will you improve yourself as a wrestler seeing that match? Of course, there's some build up, but seeing just those two guys do what they do best at their levels in their career.
Definitely listen, but definitely also know that you don't get put in that position as a favor or as a gift. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to talk myself up, but you got put in that position for a reason. So do what you do and be up there with them. There's no reason why you shouldn't. If you got to the point that you're going to be put in that position, show them why, and prove them why they were right.
Okay. And we'll delve into the Road Championship. And when someone says NU, and the ring announcer said what they need to say, you raise your hand. Having that belt. Now I'll do this in 3 parts. What was that title like? As a fan of wrestling, as a wrestler yourself, and as a person?
There you go with these heavy questions. Okay. Are you talking about the first one? Are you talking about the first one I got cashed in on? Are you talking about the first time I got cat? No? Okay, we're talking over one another. You're talking about like December when I won the championship. Is that what you're speaking of?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. So part 1. Shoot. What was that part 1 of that question?
So as a fan, and let me know to cut off, so I'll give you the next question. That'll be easier for you.
Sorry, I don't know. I think my brain is scrambled from just my...
It's all good. No, we have time. This will get edited by the time we're going to get through this.
Yeah, make me sound as smart as possible, please. Like, I know what I'm talking about.
Fair enough.
Okay, so as a fan, so like I said, I've gone to reality wrestling shows. I think when I first started going, Gino was champion. I remember seeing Mysterious Q, I believe, was also carried the title for a round. And I thought to myself, like, this is the premier place here in Texas. Like, these guys made it to somewhere where Booker opened up a company and put the championship on him. So as a fan, I don't think you can really distinguish from as a fan to a wrestler, because it all kind of ties in together as like once I made it to that level, it's like, it took me a little while to understand, like, I'm the champion. Like, I made it to this. I earned it. I won it. I conquered it. I feel I won. Where else can I go from here? I mean, I know there's like, the next level, but as far as where I am in here, this is the premier place to be a champion. And I got there.
As a wrestler who's worked a lot. As a wrestler who you've done to pay your dues, to understand the craft of wrestling, as that person who's worked their butt off to get to that championship, what does that mean to you?
I understand that I was put in the position to win it. And all the hard work that I did, from late night drives, staying late, to gym time, to critiquing myself, taking in it, it's all like it all came to fruition. And I can't think of anything else that I wanted. I never thought I would, but I knew that I was going to go for it. And that's something that you have to work towards, and you have to know that you want it. Whether it happens or not, always work towards it.
And as a person, and this will mesh both points, as a fan and as a wrestler, to attain those goals personally. And having this road championship, is that a feather on your cap in your career?
Absolutely. I mean, when I started wrestling, I'm very realistic. I know I talk like big, like going for your dreams and everything like that, but I also know that there's a realistic way of looking at things. And in life, I feel that, you always set small goals. You have the ultimate goal, but you can't just go from, New York to LA and not have a plan or anything like that. It's, what are you going to do? First step, sign up. Second step, do what they tell you to do. Listen. Next step, get on the show. Next step, win a match. Next step, whatever it is, what's going to get you to that ultimate goal? And I do have the idea that I want to progress even further. So I'm going to continue doing what I've done and just continue to put in the work.
What are you looking forward to this year? Because this year's still pretty new. What are your, if you have milestones, or what are you looking forward to with this year that's still growing, that's still new? What are you looking forward to in 2025?
2025 is continuing on defending this title. I know the fans are against me. I don't know why. I didn't do anything but win what was rightfully mine. Zilla Fatu got pushed into that spot for some reason, somehow. Because I got COVID and wasn't medically clear, somehow he gets my spot. A spot that I feel that I definitely earned. Because he has a name. He was here for like 1 year and then left. I mean, not even a year. He was here for one match and then left. And then he comes back and he gets the championship. He gets to fight for the championship. Yeah, he beat Ed Stone. Okay. But that was mine. To see, and for the fans, when we're standing there, when I won the number one contendership, Zilla interfered, did what he did. Whatever, it benefited me. But when we were standing there face to face, I didn't go up to him. He came up to me. He got in my face. And the crowd went from Gaspar to Zilla. Why? Why? I won the match. I should have been winning that title. And the crowd just chants his name over mine. And then when he leaves, then they come to me again. I posted
it's
earlier
almost
that
like, okay.
Let me finish. I posted earlier something, and there's nothing more true than what I said. I never turned my back on Rogue Nation. Rogue Nation turned their back on me. They went with a well-known name over someone who's been here for 4 years, never left. Rogue Nation let me down.
Good. Would you like anything to add in the meantime?
Zilla, I know you're coming for me, but I'm not going to be ill prepared.
Okay.
Whatever. When you're ready.
That was heavy. That was the heavy response with all the heavy questions thrown at you. So we're even at this point. So, I will end this conversation with this. And thank you so much, Gaspar. It's been a long time coming. And I really appreciate talking about your life in music and in wrestling and being road champion, and something that's very hard to attain. And there are so many people that have this title. To have that belt on your waist, that is honestly a satisfying feeling to do that. And I'll end with this. And if you were in the same room as an adolescent version of you, you're in the room together face to face, what would you like to talk to him about?
Okay, young me, you're doing okay. You're doing all fine. You're doing just fine. You're the champion. Remember that.
Okay. I have nothing left to give, and you have the floor. And where can we find you on socials?
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I have a Twitter or whatever, X. I don't really use it, but definitely Instagram is where you can find me, where you find out the most activity. I am the champion, and I'm going to show the world that I am.